All right. How are you doing, folks? Can you hear me? Everything fine in terms of sound? Keep your emotional super plushie. No, that's fine. It's going to be a nice stream today. And we have the kitty cam. We have the two monsters sleeping right now. All right, let's go. Hope you are doing well, folks. Apologies for not having been able to start the stream 1 hour earlier as planned. I got taken out by a friend. All right, let's go. Just before we start, a quick last announcement for those who are not aware. I explained that through email and on Discord, but we got a little issue with the mailing list. So everyone got a few emails that week. Open up your emails. You got a lot of sneaky element from the preparatory module overall. So if you want to have a look at the preparatory module, you can get it. And also, we had to extend the duration to acquire the preparatory module, and today is the last day. So if it's not done yet and you want it, link down below. I answer a question about that at the end of the stream. Let's get started. Let's not waste too much time. We have a lot to talk about. Today is a direct continuation of the stream of last time regarding the dark and dumb ages of concept art. By the way, cheers. We got some branded mugs. So, direct continuation of the stream of last time. And I wanted to expand a bit on the cult of technique, the cult of complexity that we see today. You can replace complexity by technique for the whole stream. Technical is not better. Tons of plugin is not better. I want to explain why we arrived there, why so many artists are drowning in complexity today and not capturing the essence of what needs to be done in the job, and what are the solutions. Let's go. So we talked about that already. We talked about all the dumb ages of concept art and such. I want to start directly, and I'm pretty sure everyone can relate about that. Put a 1 in the chat if you, as an artist, you love thinking and you love complexity by default, and I will lead the charge with a 1 in the chat. It tends to be very intellectually satisfying. We tend to all like to be in the world of ideas. That's our job as an artist. Here we go. Look at the chat. That's our job as an artist. That's what we like. That's what we resonate with. We like to be in our imagination. So generally, the deeper we can dive into it, the more pleasant it will be. Because I like when you play a video game, the more enthralled by it you can be, the better it will be. So we love our imagination, and art is complex. So concept art is 10 layers more complex because you have to think about design and everything. Fundamentals, technique, etc. So what we can see is that a lot of beginners, they tend to default to technique because it's visible. It's normal. You improve your technique at the beginning when you start. You better know how to draw. You learn how to render better. You learn how to paint better. You learn how to do perspective better. Every single step is going to be a massive improvement in your pieces. And it's kind of a default baseline that every artist has to go through. You have to learn technique. I'm not teaching anything groundbreaking right now. It's just an observation. It's very simple. It's going to be important after. The problem that we see a lot, especially as soon as some artists want to become professional, is that, of course, they ask themselves, how do I become a professional? And the easiest thing to know this from professional is their technique again. So a lot of artists And that's why I'm refusing so many people applying to the mentorship. And we talked about that already in the past. But a lot of artists, they double down on rendering and technique, when in reality, it's yielding lower result than what they should focus on. At some point, you can have maxed out technique and it starts to hit diminishing return, and you should invest your time in other things like your ideas, solving problems, storytelling, functionality, gameplay, etc. But a lot of people, because they never quit this kind of beginner state of focusing on technique, they keep focusing on that and that and that again. And at some point, it's like a D&D character where you have like 20 in intelligence, but 4 in strength. You will have like 20 in rendering, but 4 in design. It's going to be very problematic. And where you can make a quirky character for D&D, like let's say you are playing a barbarian orc or something like that, or on the other side, like you are playing like a Kenku with 20 intelligence, 20 dexterity, but 4 strength. That can work, that can be thematic. It will have some challenges. But for art, you need a full package. You need to be kind of good at several things. And a lot of people, and we saw that on when we analyzed our station work and such, they use technique as a way to mask weak design. Rather than doing more design and better design, they add more detail. They cover the stuff in grass and shit and dirt, and they add lens flares and VFX. And it's just an attempt at distracting people from the essence. And the problem is that for me, it's a form of avoidance. When you just tell yourself, I need to learn more technique, it's procrastination. But when you are drawing, to me, it's a form of avoidance. And I call it the Louis Vuitton effect of art. I call it the Louis Vuitton effect of art. And I'm sorry if any of you has some Louis Vuitton. It's going to hurt. I personally think, and you have tons of documentaries about that Louis Vuitton is for poor people who want to impress even poorer people. It's not for rich people. The person who buy them, it's middle class or low class people who want to impress even lower class people. And I call it the Louis Vuitton effect of art because technique is just going to impress people below you. It's never going to impress a professional. You see that meme? When your portfolio is full of add-ons and gimmicks, your plugins have no power here. That's exactly what's happening with studios and pros. It's like you will not impress anyone with technique. It's a given. It's a requirement today. Same with complexity. At some point, when you reach a certain level in your career or in your artistic level, you don't really care anymore about technique. All you care is the idea. You kind of desensitize to the technique. You pass through that, and I know it's necessary. It's a bit painful, but you pass through that, and at some point, it's a given. It can be the same for 3D or for any other artistic thing, by the way. So, if you want a comparison, when I was playing a lot of music in bands and touring a bit in small cities, don't get me wrong, I've never been a rock star, but I've been touring a bit with the little band I had. I was a lot in the music space, and you could instantly recognize beginner bands and beginner musicians because they were all focusing on the very technical guys. Like, I was doing metal, and everyone was like looking at the shred people, like the shred guitarists, like Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai. There was no Polyphia at the time, but it would be Polyphia today. Alexi Laio from Children of Bodom, the guys from Stratovarius, and all those super fast bands that were able to play a crap ton of notes extremely fast. And they were just focusing on speed and technique, but certainly not on groove, musicality, and things like that. And there's no point in hitting the strings extremely fast if it sounds like shit, you know? And then you discovered, at least in my case, I discovered bands like Tesseract, mainly Tesseract and all the progressive metal band and the gent bands. And they were able to use silence very efficiently. And you realize that at some point, you have to be somewhat minimalistic or you have to get rid of the fluff to make things groove. And I'm not saying that super fast music is bad or is amateur, but it's just at some point you develop taste and you have to go through the technique, and it's just a means to an end. Like the guys from Tesseract, they are amongst the best musicians on the planet in the metal sphere. They know how to make crazy rhythms, but they know how to make it fucking groove. And they know when to put a lot of notes or when to let silence speak. And that's very important. I'm going to answer a question like K3T Art. I'm going to answer your question towards the end, probably. I want to go through that. I just have 2 hours, then I have to leave. So basically, a lot of people get stuck hiding behind technique and think it's going to be able to brute force through the industry. So rest areas are important, exactly. And it was the same for me. I had a lot of pictures with tons of VFX, lens flare, and effects when I was a student. And at some point, boom, let's get rid of that. Let's be a bit more minimalistic. And when you have a strong idea, you can simplify and it still works. While a weak idea stays bad, no matter how much detail you add on it. Look at all the Last of Us 2 fan art or the Wukong fan art that we got, or the Ghost of Tsushima fan art. Compare them to those of Naughty Dog or Sony Santa Monica. Strangely enough, those of Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica are less detailed, but the ideas are way more powerful. So with that long introduction, it's just that technique for the sake of technique, you're just going to impress people below you, you're just going to impress beginners, but professionals, they will see straight through it because they have been through that. And the whole premise of that video is that today we have the rise of technology. We got the rise of 3D. 10 years ago, 3D was very hard to pull up. I showed that in the previous stream. It was very hard to use. It was not impossible, but very hard. And it has clear limitations and where you knew where to stop. Same with Photo Bash. And today you have extremely powerful 3D tools, tons of photos. You have tons of 3D asset and kit bash tools. You have tons of plugins that enable people to think they can skip the fundamentals. It's like, why learning perspective when you can do directly in 3D? Why learning how to paint when you can have a shader in 3D? Why knowing how to design something when you can kit bash a spaceship with some ready-made asset? Why learning anatomy when you can import a Mixamo model and pose it? The problem is that the depth always comes back one way or the other. And professionals, they can sense when you are skipping the fundamentals, when you have fragile fundamentals and you are trying to make yourself a bit bigger than what you really are and try to skip that. And what really pisses me off today is that there's a big market for complexity. We got a case of a student recently who got into some sort of emergency call with Axel, one of our mentor, and he was doing stylized work and he was doing like a crazy spaghetti node shader thing for wood on planks and things like that. Well, it should have just been like brown shader, paint the rest. Axel was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like you need to simplify things, same with the light and such. And again, the market for complexity, it taps into our propension and love for overthinking and over-complexifying things as artists. So in our head, the more complex it looks, the more intricate it looks, the more quote-unquote professional and cool it will be. Spoiler alert, no. And today there's a big market for tool influencers, workflow sellers. You see it a lot with AI gurus on LinkedIn. For example, I'm not here to make a tangent on AI, but it's the same principle. It's like, you are one agent, you are one AI agent away from making 10K a month. Buy my shit. I made a $200,000 commercial with a prompt on my computer. I'm so smart. It's going to replace advertising teams. Or things like, I recreated the Avengers Thanos snap effect with AI. I'm so smart. And then you look at those people, no background, less than 2,000 followers, third world country, and all have an affiliate link towards an obscure AI tool. They are not trying to show something. They are just doing affiliate marketing for those tools. But strangely enough, none of them are making movies. None of them are making games. They are all saying, yeah, in a year, everyone will be able to make a game with AI. Yeah, do it. Do it, bro. Market is waiting. Do it. Release your trailer. Let's see how it goes. Prove me wrong. None of them is doing that. It's because they don't even do the video. It's the platform which made the video and then gives that to their affiliate. And sorry for the tangent, but it's kind of the same for the tool and the workflow sellers. Like, here is my glorified tutorial with 5 Q&As and live demos on my crazy workflow. $800, well, it should cost 30. Let's label it as a mentorship. It's just about learning a few gimmicks in Blender or 3D code. I have nothing against all those tools, okay? I think Geoscatter is fine. I think Gaffer plugin is fantastic. I really think that some plugins in Blender are life-changing. That's why I made a set of courses about which one I think are the best, and I truly think that those can save time. The problem is that none of those tools solve core problem, which is the fundamentals. Okay? And that's the problem. To me, all that complex thing, all those complex workflow is good when you already have the fundamentals and you want to save time. But if you start on that, if you start with it, there's a problem is that it creates a liability. Because the more complex your system is, the more fragile it becomes. Let's say you have 50 different plugins, you have $2,000 worth of add-ons on Blender, you are working on 6 different software like Blender, 3D Code, ZBrush, Modo, you are using Substance Painter for that very specific task, and then you are using Gaia for this, and then World Machine for this. What if you join in a studio and they don't have one of the softwares, or several of them? Your whole system crumbles. That's why simplicity makes you anti-fragile. You know, to make another tangent, it's like those gurus with like a morning routine that takes 4 hours, and they are taking 70 different pills because otherwise they cannot feel right. It just makes them more fragile than anything else, because if at some point they don't have their morning routine, they're going to feel like shit. Spoiler alert, you're not going to die because you have not done your morning routine. So to me, the more complexity there is to something, the more fragile it becomes, because if one thing breaks, everything else breaks. And to me, that's the problem in those sellers of complexity and the cult of technique. Let's say tomorrow, it's not going to happen on Blender, but let's say tomorrow there is a license issue with Blender at the studio. You cannot use that. You cannot work at all. So you'll lose money. That's why the basic fundamental, the simpler it is, the more solid they are. I'm not telling you to go back to just pen and paper and abandon the rest. I'm just telling you that you need to have the foundation to go to the next level. So that's a very long intro, my apologies. I want to talk about the 80-20 rule for concept art. Everyone knows the 80-20 rule is called the law of Pareto. Like 80% of the result is generally driven by 20% of the effort. It needs to be kind of the same for your art. Like 20% of your process needs to drive 80% of the result. All the plugin, the geoscatter and things like that, that's good, but it needs to be in the 20% remaining. You need most of your skills to be reliable and in your control. If you depend on a tool to make something for you, you are technically a slave of that tool. If you cannot say no to that tool, you are a slave of that tool, unfortunately. And it's going to be perceived as a risk for the studio or else as an expense. You generally don't want that. So to get back on rendering, I've said it a zillion times already, but for concept art, you are paid for your ideas, not for the rendering of cool stuff. You just want to do rendering, go for marketing art. Good luck. It's a super saturated niche. And it's the one that is the most at risk with AI. The world of ideas, not really at risk with AI at the moment. Despite how many commercials wants you to believe the same. So today, because technology is so accessible, like again, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. This was my artist for Ubisoft. That shitty ass scene took 8 hours to render. 8 fucking hours to render. There was no real-time preview, nothing. That shit, 8 hours. That shit, 8 to 6 hours. I don't remember precisely. Those were clear limitations. Those were clear limitations, and you had to compensate with other things, with photos, with drawing, etc. So at the time it was easy, but now that we have photorealistic stuff in a click and tons of kitbash assets and such, it makes the use of those technologies a bit more of a given. It's more accessible. Like you look at your average Last of Us 2 keyframe on ArtStation, any dum-dum with 2 weeks on Blender, you follow a Max Hay tutorial. Max Hay is incredible. I love that guy. You follow one of his tutorial, plug an HDRI, kitbash a few stuff. In 2 hours, you can have a photorealistic render out of the box. 10 years ago, in 3D, photorealism out of the box was only for cinema. So because of the mass adoption of that, it makes it a commodity. It's a baseline expectation. You're not going to score points anymore with technology and rendering. It's just required today. 10 years ago, I got my first job because I was good at technique and my design was shit. I got away with bad design because my rendering was exceptional for the time. Today, it doesn't work this way because technique is super accessible to anyone. And something that I see a lot is that a lot of artists, they are maximalist of tools now. It really reminds me of the, just like in Overwatch or any hero-based character game, when there is a new character, everyone wants to play that character, and a lot of people caresses the hope that suddenly they're going to pick that character and it's going to click, they're going to be the chosen one, the chosen genius of that character. And every time there's a new character, that new narrative runs again and again and again and again. And artists do exactly the same with tool. Like they are like, yeah, I was not that good at 2D. I will be the chosen one for 3D, Oh, that new plugin is out. I'm going to be the genius of that plugin. And it works again and again and again. Okay, 3D art, let's answer your question after. Okay? If someone in the chat can answer that, I'm pretty sure you can get an answer. So today, people are very maximalist of certain tools. They are almost cultist of certain tools. We talked about the podcast bro of last time. Like, if you are not using Octane Render, you are wasting your life, A lot of people today, they are like, okay, I'm only working in 3D. And then you question them, are you drawing? No. Do you design? No. Do you even model your stuff? No, I'm kitbashing stuff. So what the fuck are you doing? That's the problem. We see very little maximalist of drawing today. We saw a few like 10 years ago when drawing with like digital painting and 3D was becoming almost a threat for certain people. Today, I don't know that many drawing maximalists. People who only swear only by drawing. Even the people at like 6 More Vodka who were extremely maximalist of that, they changed their mind and they implement 3D now. So to me, it's kind of funny to see that the more accessible something is, or at least the time spent to impressive result ratio, the more favorable it is, the more maximalist it has. Strangely enough, 3D has a ton of maximalists, especially kitbash and the Last of Us 2 fan art, and all the low-hanging fruit of 3D has a lot of maximalists, while drawing has less and less maximalists. It's kind of weird. So what I would advise is, rather than being a cultist about only one tool and becoming blind to the rest, You need to understand what is the 80-20 of each tool and understand what is the strength and what is the weakness of each tool. And then you need to combine them and use the best of both for efficiency. That's how professional work. I'm going to talk about that a bit later. But it's just to introduce the core principles. Next, another big problem with that over-complexification of things that artists tend to do, it's something we talked about in the brainstorming stream. For whoever wants to watch it, it's still available on YouTube. It is the brainstorming, how to brainstorm properly. Something I've said all the time and something I've noticed a lot while teaching and while mentoring is that most of the artists who are struggling, it's because their workflow, especially regarding design plus rendering, is very bad and they end up doing everything at the same time. They did not plan the design properly, so they end up designing their, let's assume they design a character, they end up designing something, plus doing the fighting with the anatomy, plus fighting with the lighting, plus the rendering, plus the functionality, plus everything at the same time. They are basically fighting on 17 different fronts, and they collapse under the pressure of that. I like to use that comparison that we are a bit we are like a very small and very dumb computer. You know, a computer has RAM and cores of CPU. If you do only one task at a time on your computer, that's fine. If you are launching 15 different software at the same time, they are all running at the same time, the computer is going to choke. It's exactly the same for us, but extremely, extremely limited. We're extremely bad at multitasking, and we tend to be better at monotasking. So a lot of artists who are burning out or not getting stuff done or doing overall bad designs, it's because they are doing everything at the same time. They brainstorm, they design, do the anatomy, the fundamental, the pose, lighting, polish, etc., all at the same time. And none of them is done well. It's a bit like a stamina bar. You see, let's say you are playing Dark Souls. There's like a stamina bar right here. So you have like your health bar, you have like your mana bar. Okay, and there is the stamina bar. Okay, let's assume this is the stamina. Let me put the health bar. It's in red. Whoop. There we go. It's in red right here. Then you have the mana in blue. And then you have the stamina, okay, in green. The thing with the stamina bar is that, you know, every time you roll, poof, costs you something. Every time you take a hit, it costs your stamina bar. Every time you attack, it costs a bit. And if you have 0, you cannot roll anymore. And it's exactly the same when you are designing. Let's say, okay, this is the cost of thinking about brainstorming. This is the cost of thinking about your ref. This is the cost of anatomy, posing, lighting, rendering, design. At some point, you have nothing and you cannot operate properly. While let's say, okay, I'm going to focus all my energy on brainstorming. Okay, you can still manage it. Then all your energy on reference gathering. Then all your energy on just anatomy. Okay, then all your energy on just clothing. Then all your energy on face, selling point, and gameplay. Okay, by focusing on only one thing at the time, you are breaking the steps into this kind of atomic level and you can chew them. Does that make sense, folks? One thing at a time. That's what I was explaining with the brainstorming. You really, really want to handle the things one at a time, so it's always manageable. If you handle everything, you're going to choke. Okay? And it feels like you are losing some time by brainstorming and reference gathering. Oh my God, I'm not sketching. No. Spending 3 hours brainstorming and gathering references is going to save you tons of hours, or potentially days, if not weeks of work. Ask the mentees about that. The fact that we spend 3 weeks in the mentorship, first week to assess What are the studios they can aim at in which they could get a job, which is compatible with their level, with their visa. They understand exactly what they want. Week 2, they compare their work to those of the pros working there, so they understand what is expected from them and how to close the gap. And week 3, now that we have those information, we can finally plan the portfolio. And then after only 3 weeks, everyone is so eager to draw like a crackhead. They start drawing. Everything is crystal clear. As the mentees in the chat, they're going to confirm that. Those 3 weeks of clarity is going to save them months after, if not years. It's so important. It's like driving to a faraway destination without a GPS. You might eventually get there, but you're going to get lost and caught in the traffic. With a proper GPS and proper planning, you're going to avoid everything. It's going to be smooth sailing. Okay? Next, so it's about simplifying your workflow. It's also about simplifying your IDs. That's also something that pisses me off so much. It's the world building ego trip. Like, I'm doing world building, I have a world building project. Oh, come on, bro. Because that's the reality of the job. This guy, super personal project, 153 pages of lore, branching backstory, makes its own language, quasi world building with rules, genealogical tree for every families. Nobody understands that shit. So no job. This guy picks a simple famous story. Let's pick the Three Musketeers. One big twist, 1920 Chicago, Art Deco style. Design cool shit, gets hired. Everyone gets it. To me, world building, you know, it's a bit like that. It's my style. Excuse me. To me, it's a bit like this. It's just my style. Excuse. No, your anatomy is shit. Everything is shit. It's not your style. There we go. Just my art style. That's a bit the same. It's like, it's world building you don't understand. And if we cannot understand your project, well, a confused mind will always say no. That's the problem. So I already talked about that in the previous video, but pick something simple. Pick a subject that people can understand and relate to. Add one twist. Make sure it's compatible with the game. And start from here. For a portfolio, that's enough. They are not asking you to build a crazy world. They are not asking you to build the next civilization. And just so you know, Egypt took 6,000 years and millions of people, including slaves and people who died, by building the pyramids to be built. There's no way you can compete with that. Well, they spent billions of hours building Egyptian civilization. You're not building a universe alone in your bedroom. And when a studio is building a universe, it's only a very small fraction of it. Just for it to make sense. Look at The Witcher, look at Skyrim. It's very surface level, but it's enough to suspend disbelief and to make a game out of that. Same with Clair Obscur. Look at Clair Obscur. The universe is extremely small. It's extremely shallow, but it works extremely well because it's coherent and it's enough. And studios, they don't care about your lore Bible. They won't read that. If you want to write a graphic novel, more power to you, but that's a whole different discussion. But world building, be careful about that because most of the case, it feels alien. It feels very, very alien. And again, you look at the work of certain mentees. Go support them on the rookies, by the way. Look at the project of Alex, for example. That's something I would call world building. Oh, that's not the full project, my bad. That's something I would call is flirting with world building right there. It's a very small fraction of it, but it explains how things work, you know? This is world building right there. Explaining how things work. Same right here. With world building, there is also the OC, don't steal, never seen before, brand new, original. We never saw that. Yeah, nobody is going to understand that. So be careful with the world building trope. To me, it's becoming a bit of a pretentious term. And most of the time, it's not clear at all. I see there's a lot of people who are saying, like, we are doing world building mentorship. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. And if you are doing a world building mentorship, you're going to write a lot. You're not going to draw that much. You're going to write. The only world building I have done in my life is for my OWL project, and it's also for my D&D campaigns. And it's not through drawing. It's through a lot of writing and a lot of thinking. And then you will have to translate that visually. But it's taking a lot of time just on paper. Nikita is saying, would say for us, world building should be functional, not lore flirty. Exactly. Exactly. Leave the lore flirty thing to the writers. That's their job. Just make it functional. Nikita, would you allow me to share your work as an example of good world building for concept art, by the way? Let's go. Thank you, Nikita. That's good world building right there. And it's simple, you see? Diesel punk. Super grounded. 1960s. Inspired a bit by the metros and such. No need for more. And it's about explaining how things work, okay? It's about explaining how that bar functions. This is a great project right here. It's not about telling a story. It's not about in a world where something has changed, one man is going to save the world. No. It's about, okay, diesel punk, cat pub. Let's go. Let's roll with that. That's how you do it. And there's so much stuff. It's funny also that a lot of people doing world building, they are only building the gigantic shit and never the human level stuff like that. Isn't it funny? So yeah. Yeah, the port town also, exactly. Yeah, this one is great. A bit Asian inspired, different materials. And again, explaining how things work, how that marketplace functions, how the crane of that house functions and is integrated in the building. That's a very smart design right there. Roof and function integrated together. That's super smart. Form follows function. You have the form of this kind of Southeast Asia or Polynesian inspired houses, but you have this kind of lift mechanism integrated to it, mixing the form and the function of different things. This is smart right there. Explaining how things work. Even a small animatic to explain how things work with this kind of cargo ship passing. Here we go. That's functional world building right there. Okay? And if you want a story-based world building, okay, let's give an example. I'm sorry to share the work of Gael again. That's how you do storytelling-based world building. I already deciphered that picture a zillion times, so no need to re-explain the whole story. But you can do world building with a small human-sized element and giving some clues about the settings. You will never give a full story with a gigantic tower in the middle of nowhere. You are telling the story of the world right there by asking yourself the props, the environment, how is it a testimony of the people and civilization who lives there? It's funny because when you do environment, you think about the people living in it. When you design people and character, you think about their surroundings and how they adapted to that. That's more story-based world building right there. But again, it's human scale. Okay? So again, they just want your follow to be an excuse to design cool shit. So start with an existing story or trope or something, add a twist, make sure it's game friendly, and build from there. You want an example? Pick a book that has not been adapted in a movie, that is somewhat famous. You know what? I would love to see a mentee who is doing the Heritage trilogy book. I think it's 4 books now. The Aragon books or concept art. Because the Aragon movie is dog shit. So we can completely disregard that and rebuild something from scratch. Looking at the future mentees, if someone wants to make a heritage book, adapting into concept art, I think that would be a great idea if you like dragons and such. That's just an example. Make it game friendly, okay. Let's make it like The Witcher, you know? Or Baldur's Gate. That's totally fine. You have dragons, you have enemies, you have factions. Perfect. The problem is that with world building, some artists either go way too far and they build something alien, and nobody understands anything. And most people do it way too shallow. Either they copy trends, looking at the military dude entering an abandoned building type of portfolio. It's world building, it's my story, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing a story about a post-apocalyptic world. Yeah, you just played The Last of Us. That's fine. Okay, cool. We all did that. That's fine. Me too. I also have my big pack of post-apocalyptic shit. That's fine. And nothing against post-apocalyptic. Love Mad Max, love Fallout. I love the Book of Eli. Love those things. But the problem is that is copying trends. Okay? Both are dead ends. One is creatively bankrupt. The other one is alien and hard to understand. And if there is one thing you need to retain from that whole presentation is that a confused mind always says no. There are 3 sins that you can have with your portfolio and with your application. It's boredom. Okay. It's boring. Oh shit, another one. Cliche. Trend. Chasing. Clone of clone of clone. Okay? Confusion. I don't understand. This is the one we are talking about, confusion. And the last thing is skepticism. I don't believe they did it or that they can do it. It's mostly when you are lacking some stuff and when you still have to prove yourself by showing you understand the process, etc. But today we are talking about confusion. Okay? A good project for your portfolio needs to be instantly understandable, easy to pitch in less than 2 sentences, and visually fun to design. That's what I did with the pitching portfolio live. It's like you have 2 sentences to pitch your project. Okay? Quick example of what do you mean by too alien? Unique question because my mind can be a bit abstract. ArtStation front page. Let's have something alien. And again, nothing personal against what I will show. Something alien. This. 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 Things like that. I love this city. It's on purpose that it's alien. It's an alien planet. But none of that makes sense. And if you make a full portfolio with that, none of that will make sense. Okay? You do something like that, it looks like Minecraft, you know? What problem are you solving? I don't know. This is alien as fuck. I don't understand what I see. Nothing against the artist who did that, okay? This looks alien to me. Within a game with context, sure. For a portfolio where we don't have the context, it's going to be complicated, you know? I'm sorry, I'm not here to bash a pro, and the concept artwork on a vote is great, okay? But this is alien. We don't understand from which architecture it's inspired. We don't understand what it really is. It looks nice, but to me it's alien. On the other hand, you pick Baldur's Gate. You pick the monastery from Baldur's Gate. This is not alien. You understand the architectural influence. You understand the ruins. You understand the materials. You understand the plants. Rosimore Monastery. Okay? This is not alien right there. This is grounded. This is understandable. It follows architectural rules that are easy to understand. It feels like a cathedral right there with that tower. The shapes is brand new, but the principles behind feels good. Even those stars, it feels like the stars that you see in like on the Algerian flag and in some Muslim architecture. It evokes something that we already know. That's why you don't make it alien. Make sense? I'm not bashing on a vote on the work of anyone, okay? Same right there. This feels alien to me. I don't really know what I see. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. But it's super abstract. It's hard for me to understand the scale of those birds, especially of those birds. Because if that thing is human-sized, those birds are fucking gigantic. But they don't have the texture to be gigantic. I love your work, Thomas. I absolutely love your work. This is just an example that for a portfolio is going to be potentially a bit hard to understand. Same right here. Love the work. It's gorgeous in terms of shape. For a stylized game like Ori, even Fortnite, this is amazing. But you make a full portfolio of only things like this, it's going to be a bit hard to understand. Okay? Same when you only have crystals and things like that. A lot of people, when they are doing fantasy, it's like, yeah, let's solve everything with a magic crystal. What will alien be for characters? You invent the clothes, for example. You invent the clothes, you don't make it inspired by anything. Don't forget the giant trees. Yeah, exactly, of course. Okay? So that's about simplifying your ideas. We got a zillion live stream already about ideas, about good project, bad project, pitching them. Go watch that if you are discovering the Art Nest, or you have not watched the other ones. There's a lot of education about that already that you can get. So that's it. Yeah, clothes that are glued on top. That's another example of alien. It looks like a printed spandex. Next, simplify your freaking tools. That's what I've been talking about. Let's dive a bit more into that now. So let's make a quick comparison. Let's talk about Blender / 3D, okay? What are the pros of Blender and 3D? You can move the camera around very fast. You can change the lighting and perspective, and you can set it extremely fast. It's already 100% accurate. And you can come to big level or medium level detail quite fast. What are the downsides of 3D? It's very slow to iterate or to create a design from scratch with it because you have to build your asset. Blender and 3D is terrible at small details. I'm talking about the small details. Blender is going to choke. You're going to need a 1590 to render that. It's going to take 10 minutes for one frame. It's very bad for small details. And yet everyone and their mom wants to detail everything in 3D. There's only one Piotr Krzywinski in the world, okay? People on par with Piotr level Krzywinski details in the world, you can probably count them on one hand in the world. Maybe two. At least in 3D. So that's fine. You can detail less than Piotr Krzywinski, and then you can use photos. Look at the interview we did with Andy Walsh. He worked on Call of Duty, and he explained that everyone and their mom is still using photo bashing to come to that photorealistic level of detail. And yeah, designing in 3D is super slow, as I said. Photo bashing. The pros, you have insane detail. There's no need for a crazy computer, and it's extremely fast. The cons is that you are tied to the perspective of the photos and the lighting setup. So you need the right photo with the right perspective for the photo. That's the only con. So you can already see that for perspective lighting, 3D is very good. For detail, photo bashing is a good complement. And 2D, the pros is that you need fundamentals. It could also be in the cons. Okay? You need fundamentals. It's a requirement in the industry. It's extremely fast for design. It's way easier to draw a design than to make it in 3D. And overpaint is fast. It's all about speed and starting something and finishing something. And there's no copyrighted picture, of course. The cons is that when you need another camera angle, you need to start from scratch. And of course, you need fundamentals. So we can clearly see there are clear strengths and clear weaknesses for each of them. So the goal is to combine them. Issue as a sweet spot, use it for that. 3D gives you fast perspective and lighting. 2D is unbeatable for quick iteration, and photo adds detail instantly. The pros, they're all mixed tools, okay? Okay, let's pick the concept at the Last of Us 2 airdrop. These are photos right there. These are photos. These are photos. There's a fuck ton of photos there. They are not doing everything in 3D. They are doing a bit in 3D, of course. There's a heavy 3D base. There's also a lot of photos and a lot of painting. This is painted right there. This is painted right there. This is painted right here. I speak Florent Lebrun. Love his work. I have a lot of photos here. Okay? They are not doing everything in 3D. And right here, there's a lot of painting. Look at the wood right here. Let me put a Photoshop again. It's just a 4K picture, so we don't even have the full details. This is painting right here. This is mixer brush. This is painted right here. Painted. 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 Heavily painted right here. Look at that. Is it clear? Same with that one that I've shared a zillion times. It's from Character. It's for God of War. The tiles right there are in 3D. There's a bit of photos. We can see some clear painting. The sky and the background is entirely painted. Look at those blobs right there. This is probably photos with some mixer brush and textured brush right there. Painted. Photo. The detail density is different. Probably a bit painted in certain parts. Look at that mountain. Look at this. I know that character, they look like they are only working in 3D, but it's not the case. They don't care. They really don't care. Look at how painterly the sky is. This is always the same photos that I'm using for anyone aiming at realistic stuff. Because if you only do that in 3D, some studios still want you to paint it or to have painting skills. By having the best of 3, you cover everything. So you really extend your range of studios. If you only do it in 2D, only do it with photos, or only do it in 3D, you are shooting yourself in the foot and you are restricting your range. Is it clear? So here we go. They always go for the fastest way to do something regardless of the style point. I know that at some point there was that meme like, I pixel painted everything by hand. And then there was nobody cares. That's still that. And same with the plugins, same with everything. If you can get 90% of your lighting with an HDRI and a sun lamp, maybe it's not worth it to spend 2 hours setting up a crazy HDRI plugin to get the extra 10%. Maybe you can just paint it with a few brushes rather than having a spaghetti node system. Okay, I want to show you something. Give me a sec. It's in a private discussion. I just need to grab it. Give me a sec. Here we go. No joke. This is the node system that I had for a project of mine in 2018. I don't even know how many shaders there were. Like 29 different materials. It was bad. It was very bad. You don't want to do that. It would have been so much easier to just put a photo and paint over it. It was in 2018 and all of that was fitting on 4 gigs of VRAM, by the way. 120 million polys, all that mess of textures on 4 gigs of VRAM. Just to render a medieval city for like 4 shots, something like that. So yeah, avoid the spaghetti nodes. If a photo gives you the detail faster, use the photo. It's fine if it's not perfect. If it gives you 90% of the result, it's fine. Especially if it's in 5 minutes. Studios don't care about how you do it, and they don't care about how well rendered it is. They care that it's done, fast, clean, and functional. Okay? Next. Here we go. The more complex your system is, the more fragile it is. So every time you add one extra add-on to your stuff, you might do a service to you if you are a freelancer, but if you want to be hired in a studio, you're going to do a massive disservice because there's no guarantee they're going to have the add-on available. So you're not, as I was saying before, that meme, you are one AI agent away from making 10K a month. There's a lot of people in the industry who are saying you are one more Blender plugin away from getting hired or making 500 a day. No. Again, I'm not cheating on plugins. I'm not cheating on add-ons. There are people who make some incredible ones. Jama is making incredible plugins. There's a list of all the plugins I recommend in the free course, etc. There's a reason we are using them. It saves you time. That's the goal of a good plugin. But you need to know to use it, and you need to be able to do it without it first. Otherwise, you become a slave of that plugin, and it's going to make your workflow more and more and more dependent on more and more and more entities that you do not control. A few years ago, I was using a plugin called Photographer, It was amazing in Blender. It got discontinued and doesn't work anymore. I'm still very sad not having it anymore because it was making crazy lens flares. So yeah, don't binge purchase plugins like toys, you know? I know you have your dopamine hit, you feel cool having bought whatever new plugin that is trendy, but is it really helpful? Is it going to fundamentally help your work? Ask yourself that question. Is it helping you getting closer to your goal, or rather helping you getting closer to developing the skills that are required to get your work? I repeat, is that add-on contributing in any ways of shape to you getting the skills required to get a job? That's three layers. Skills, plugin, job. Okay? Most likely it will be a gimmick or a liability. And I like that idea that giving advanced tool to beginners without foundation is like giving dynamites to kids. They're going to blow their hands up. You know, you have seen that episode of South Park? Exactly like that. You've seen that episode. You see that episode when they are purchasing weapons? That's exactly like this, you know, that's what is going to happen. Same right there. Okay, next, I want to talk about the Dunning-Kruger dopamine loops. I miss simple times of asking for the photobash brushes collection. Yeah, same. Today it's what's your plugin, bro? Everything became so complex. The thing is, before, to get back at the beginning, we only had drawing. There was no way around. So it was very streamlined, and it was part of the collective hive mind that fundamentals was non-negotiable. Everyone knew that you had to draw, that you had to grind your skills. Today, because certain tools and techniques remove the friction and grant impressive results, it makes people tempted to skip it. Before, there was no way to skip it. That's the main thing. I want to talk about the Dunning-Kruger dopamine loop. It's, I think it's something that I showed last time. But I want to show it again because it's funny. So this is your average artist. Me bad, me need tutorial, me need to learn something. Oh my God, I'm stumbling upon a tutorial right there. You're going to follow along. You're going to make a crazy render that you don't realize or don't want to admit. It's just you copying what the teacher is doing. And you're like, me genius. I get it. When Lambo. Okay. Then you're going to keep pushing and try to do something on your own. And suddenly your confidence is going to crash and you're going to realize, oh, me bad. I was just following along. It's not working. It's hard. You get a crazy inflated boost of confidence and then it crashes. You got a massive reality check. And what most people do is that instead of pushing forward, realizing that, hey, it's normal that I suck. I got a bit overconfident because I did the 80% right there. And now I have to do the 20% that really matters. And then you keep pushing and you become confident and you can fly with your own wings this way. Most people, because they didn't get suddenly a six-figures job thanks to that $20 tutorial they bought, is going to be like, yeah, this guy with the artistic version of a Lambo and a Bugatti and the yacht, get my stuff and have the same life as me. Oh my God, that's amazing. A new tutorial, get my money. And suddenly you get back in the loop. Me good, reality check, me bad, next tutorial from the next bro. And people get stuck forever in that loop and they never improve. What you really want to do again is to temper your expectation You start here, temper your expectation. It's like, okay, I followed along, that's the first step. Now it's going to be hard. You lower the lack of confidence, you tell yourself, okay, it's normal, it's part of the process. And then you keep pushing in order to level up faster. That's what you want. You want to temper the extremes. You need to tell yourself, hey, it's not going to change my life, or else it's directly correlated to the amount of effort that I'm doing. And following along is just the bare minimum required. It's not a medal of honor, okay? So just following along is the first step, and now the real work starts. So yeah, you are not one Star Wars spaceship tutorial away from working at ILM, unfortunately. Sorry to break your dream. And yeah, this is dopamine farming, because you get a massive hit of dopamine having bought a new tutorial and thinking, oh my God, it's going to be amazing, I'm going to be so strong. Nope. Skill building is what matters. Okay? And if you constantly expose yourself and hope and chase the next shiny thing all the time, and you are not remaining focused, you will never develop expertise in anything. I was eating that's why I was late. I was eating with a friend, wanted to talk a bit about business. I did a consultation for him. And he's having a massive ecosystem, doing video editing, media buying, marketing, everything. They are teaching you everything. And I was like, dude, initially it was video editing. You are doing like 15 different stuff. You are not even good at your core offer, which is video editing. So start by being excellent at that thing. And then you're going to develop one thing after the other. You're just spreading yourself way too thin. And all your students, if they are not getting results, it's because they jump onto something, they get the dopamine hit. When they try to get client, they crash on reality because they realize it's hard, and they think they are one other skill away. Oh, if I don't get a video editing client, it's because I need to learn media buying and make ads on Facebook. It has nothing in common, dude. That's exactly that. And the problem is that they created an ecosystem that reinforced dopamine farming and getting stuck there. Okay? That's the problem. That's what, also for the artness, that's why I'm so hermetic to anything else. Some people told me you should do this and you should do that. No, we are just doing concept art the same way. We are improving the formula. And the only thing we do is getting better and better and better and better results. And it's going to solve everything else. And now it's starting to overflow to the point that, yeah, okay, at some point we're going to make a 3D version of the artnest. We're going to make an animation version of the artnest. We're going to make a VFX, maybe a coding version of the artnest, because 99% of what we have can be transposed to any other job in the industry. We just have to find a good mentor, make sure they are good at that, put them on a rail, develop the structure, develop the curriculum, which is basically a copy of what we have, and we are good to go. But the only reason we are able to do that is because we focused like absolute maniacs on one thing for more than 2 years. And we became very good at that. That's the only reason it's working. Say no to the shiny object. It's very, very important. Okay, next thing. You need to test your ideas fast. Mandatory read to everyone. Mandatory, absolutely mandatory. Made to stick. Why some ideas survive and others die. It's really this, okay? It's really, the metaphor they are using all the time in the Made to Stick book is throw the ball of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. It means that you need to expose your ideas to reality check as fast as possible. A lot of people, they like to stay in the world of idea. They like to brainstorm for 50 hours and such. It's cool. That's fine. The problem is that you have not tested your ideas and it's still just an idea. It's not a design yet. No crime. Yeah, don't waste food. It's just a metaphor, you know. So, don't spend 20 hours planning something. Try to go in it. I have to take actions for things to happen? What do you mean? No, shockers. I imagine the voice of Billy saying this. For those who don't know, Billy is the little protagonist of the mentorship that is going to be a bit your typical goofy student, and it's like,
what do you mean? I have to actually take action for things to happen?
With that voice, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, the problem is that a lot of people, even sometimes when doing a sketch, they spend 10 hours on a sketch and they don't even know if it's been validated. So don't spend 20 hours building a 3D scene to test if your concept works. Sketch it, see if it works as a sketch. If it's validated, move to 3D. Or make a very, very basic 3D. That's something that I showed in the preparatory module recently. Let me show you that. Where is it? Design process 2.1. It's going to take forever to load. That's a little snippet from the preparatory module, by the way. Wink, wink. It's like the time management thing. Okay? Just make it exist. You can make it good later. I like that meme. It appeared a few weeks ago on the internet. It was pretty cool. It's really like, start with this. Okay? This is not what you're going to show to your client, but at least you have some shapes, you have some anatomy, you have solved a few stuff. Refine it a bit. It's not perfect. Look at the boots right there. There's a lot of things that are not finished, but all of them have been done in like 2 hours per sketch. So we are like at 6 hours of work right there for 3 sketches. You get feedback, and now you polish those. And now the step is done. Same for environment. Start with a floor plan. Put it into 3D with basic shapes like that. The floor plan plus this, in let's say 2 to 3 hours, you can be there. Then you paint over. At the, let's say 4 to 6 hour mark, you can be there. Now you get feedback, and now you polish the thing. Okay? I'm not saying that those sketches are bad, but a sketch like this, we are not at that level yet. That's okay. All that matters is that the main points are being detailed. We see the face and personality of the character. We see the gameplay and the main selling point, and we see a bit of the functionality and attitude. That's all that matters. Okay? Do not try to sell me a sketch where the face is not done, because we don't know who we are seeing in terms of characters. Same with the environment. Don't sell me that. This is just to allow you to circulate in the room without having to focus about perspective. So you can do it fast and you can make sure the functionality works. Show me this. This is what you show to a client right there. This one is a bit too sketchy, but show this to a client, you're fine. Show this to a client, you're fine. Show this to a client, you're not fine. Okay? That's how you test your ideas fast. Even some sketches like this that are a bit less detailed, we have the personality of the character, the main selling point, their role, and a bit of their personality. No need for more. That's fine. We can polish those later. We went from that lady right here to those, to those. And now the idea starts to solidify, okay? Then with the sketches, we went from those to this to that, okay? It doesn't have to be polished, just has to be clear. So that's what I call the 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 rule. Start with a quick sketch showing the core selling point. 1, 2, 3 r the gameplay, the story, and the function, and a small functional detail. That is a bit of a signature, okay? Everything else can be implied. You are just making a statement about the most important things. The rest is suggested, that's fine. That's the 80%, and the rest is the 20%. Will's work is amazing. Yeah, it is. Okay? Makes sense, folks? Of course, we have a ton of videos about that in mentorship free course and even the mentorship preparatory module and also in the lives. So don't feel that you are gate-kept or something like that. I want to talk quickly about perfectionism because I feel, this is why I made that video. I feel like I've been talking about perfectionism nonstop every single day for the last 4 months. And you know me, I don't really like repeating myself, so I want to say it once and for all. Perfectionism is a flaw. Perfectionism is probably the worst way you can self-sabotage yourself as an artist. Let me explain why. As a perfectionistic person, you want to land everything perfect on the first try. Which means that if you land everything perfect on the first try, you don't have feedback because everything is good on the first try. If you don't have feedback, you are not exposing yourself to what you need to improve, so you cannot improve. So by wanting to avoid failure, you avoid feedback, you avoid growth. So basically by being perfectionistic, you're actively preventing yourself from improving. You're preventing yourself from exposing yourself to the very thing that you need to improve. Okay? You need to have the bulldozer mindset. Let me find it. Where is it? Nope. Here we go. Here it is. You need the bulldozer mindset, folks. What do I mean? It means you don't wait for a thing to be perfect before moving on. You keep pushing. You keep pushing through the rubbles, okay? I know it's a tank. It's not a bulldozer. It's a tank, but whatever. Only the bulldozer wins. Because the problem of perfectionism, and I hope it's not going to sound biting or mean what I say, but you need courage to expose yourself to feedback. And by avoiding feedback, you are basically potentially lacking a bit of courage. It sounds bad the way I'm saying, but bear with me. Someone that is extremely smart but lacks the courage to get exposed to feedback will always go way less far than someone less intelligent with enough courage to expose themselves to feedback regularly. That's what we have seen with the mentees and such. So please do not sabotage yourself with that. The way we combat that in the mentorship is by giving people a deadline. You work full-time on your portfolio. If you are one of the very few people who can afford to do that, get feedback once per week. Post your work the same day, hopefully on Sundays, every week, get feedback. You work part-time, do not wait 3 hours or require feedback every three brush strokes. It's going to be micromanagement hell. Do not wait 200 hours either. Every 20 hours, send an update. Non-negotiable. It's going to be the same in studios. Okay? And that's something that I'm starting to say to the mentees. I'm going to install that in the little update I'm going to do to the mentorship during the summer. Is that if your perfectionism is strong and enforcing that this way is still not working, the most beneficial thing you can do is go see a mental health specialist. Whatever works for you, I don't care, but go see a freaking specialist, because if perfectionism or whatever psychological imposter syndrome, whatever baggage that you can have is hindering your productivity and creating so much friction that it stops you in terms of creativity, it's going to ripple negatively on your ability to make a portfolio, which is going to ripple negatively on your chances of getting a job. And even if you get a job, it's going to ripple negatively on the studio, which studios can absolutely not afford to do. So the best thing you can do to yourself and to your career is to fix that, and it's going to fix your work. Very important. And no mentor is habilitated to deal with psychological stuff. Go seek a specialist. Not one that helps you cope, one that fixes shit, of course. Whatever works for you. And even in the application process, I see so many artists overcomplicating the hiring process. Like, oh my God, what do I write and such? No. Just write, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I specialize in XYZ. I work for XYZ. Here is my portfolio. Link, let's work together. You can do this and you will be fine. Okay? It's way better than telling a 10-line or 10-paragraph story about you. A good email, a good message is one that gets the person to click on your portfolio. Don't try to bullshit your way. But something like that, if you really like ID, that's enough. Send it, move on, repeat. You can send 10 applications a day. Of course, you need a good portfolio. But that will basically take you any further than anyone who spends 3 hours on one letter, and probably don't send it. One message like that, send in 10 minutes, is better than no message at all written in 3 hours. Okay? It's just a game of volume. Nobody cares about what you write. People care about your work. So simplify it, please. They are also waiting, as we said several times, for job offers to appear. We already explained why it's a terrible strategy. So instead, please also send cold email, not to recruiters, not to art director. They cannot create a job on the spot for you, and they get spammed to other artists. To network with them and get recommended by them. When I was a student, we put our work next to one done by a master, and flows start to pop up like popcorn. That's exactly what we do in week 2. We have a set of questions that we ask ourselves to compare the work of the mentees to the pros working in the studios they are aiming at that they found in week 1. And because we analyze their process and their rendering before, not only they know the differences and the flaws they need to correct, but they also know how to correct that. But again, it takes a bit of courage to do that because it's going to hurt. You're going to realize that you are a bit far away from certain thing. The good news is, again, 80-20 rule. If you apply 20% of what is the most drastic changes you need to do, you're probably going to get 80% of the result of the pros. That's probably more than enough to skyrocket your level above junior level. That's it. Simplify your stuff, folks. I know it was more some sort of bullet point right there. It's probably a bit less structured than the previous stream, but I hope it was useful. I have a bit of time for the questions, folks. I know some people had some, so feel free to start with a bold capital letter question dot, and then write your question. This way I can pick them. In the meantime, while you are writing, just so you know, folks, we had to extend the preparatory module window of opportunity. So let me share it in the chat. It's down below in the description also. So if you want to get the preparatory module, that's the last day to get it. Just as we got a problem with the emails, nobody got the emails about the preparatory module. So let me send you the link. That's the last day. I will let the mod spam those like once every 20 messages, something like this. Just to show you what you have in it. Again, $150. Everything to understand the industry, how to stand out, what is required today, how the industry works, how to create concept artwork that is valuable for the production pipeline and studios, how to get rid of the blank page syndrome by brainstorming properly, how to ask yourself the right question to come up with deep, compelling, and drastically different ideas for your designs, how to nail every single step of the design process so art director and clients love you and you give them choice, how to never get stuck with your design, so how to unstuck it, how to level up your rendering by asking yourself the right questions and avoiding the red flags. There's an exercise, tons of cheat sheets that are printable, transcript from tons of courses, tons of case studies for design, character design, gameplay, environment, everything. And if you get it and then you apply to the mentorship, you get $150 discount, so you basically get your money back. That's it. You have the link. Again, up to you. It's the little summer training. And just one more thing. We have Concept 101 in end of August. If you're a bit tight on money and you go to Concept 101, there's a way to get the preparatory module for cheap, but only for those who are at Concept 101. You won't have the summer training, of course, because summer is now. But if your priority is to save money and not to have it as fast as possible, wait for Concept 101. Are there still open position for the mentorship? Not for September. September is full. We start hiring for October. October is going to be full after Concept 101, by the way. So basically, we will have 2 classes booked in advance, and we'll have a waiting list. And I'm currently working with my mentor on how to keep people that busy for that long. Because I know people joining, they want a job, and they might not have 3 months worth of wait before we start doing the classes. So I'm working on that. But yeah, that's a good problem to have. But yeah, next slot after October, mid-October. There's plenty of time to train. Question, are they still plan for teaching an intermediate level or senior level course or not this year? I don't know, Dave. We need to talk about that. You are the one that had some ideas about that. So I'm waiting for that. About that thing you say about master the best of 3, Blender, Photo Bash. For characters, still applicable. Yes, except that for character design, 3D is a bit less important in my opinion. We can have a call, Dave, and we need to have a call. So let's have one if you want. Want to set a few things clear. But we can. I just don't want to be bothered with like, hey, how do I send my portfolio? No. So yeah, Relo for character, definitely. You want some good examples? Have a look at the work of like Jess, for example. Jess masters the 3 of them. 2D, photos, and a bit of 3D. Where is it? This was done in 3D, if I recall correctly. She masters them all. Regarding the alien concept, because I sometimes see them for the strange, would you say it fits to have more alien concept if you already have more grounded stuff? Yes, yes. For as long as it's a bunch. Basically, alien, when something is alien, it generally means that you are lacking some references, that you didn't pick references, and that we cannot link it to something already existing. So, for example, your environment is always linked to things we know. I will not deem your work alien. Let me check again. This is not alien. This is not alien. This is not alien. This is not alien. This is a bit more alien already. We don't really know which kind of problem you solve right there. I don't really know what this is. Why is there some mechanical stuff on that bridge? What is it doing? I don't know. So this is a bit more alien. This is okay. A bit busy. I would like to understand more stuff. I'm assuming the rest is a bit older. This one, you have the JAMA Middle East things mixed with some steampunk stuff. That's kind of okay, despite the kid bashing. This one is reminding me of the barn in Destiny. Like, reminding me of the farmer. Especially that one. Kind of reminding me of the same mood with the way it's broken and such. So this one is a bit more alien. That core, we don't really know what it is. And for you worked on Remnant, and Remnant is a bit more abstract. So that's on purpose because it's about horrific content. You have a heavy horror vibe, in Remnant. So that's more acceptable in such a setting, I think. I hope it answers your question. Next, any other question, folks? But yeah, if you have some grounded stuff already, it's okay. What's the Seagull Gang? The Seagull Gang is the Seagull Gang. As simple as that. Nobody knows what it is. Will the cold email you talked about not be put to the trash bin if it's not personalized more, like a cover letter where you show where you get your attention? You can definitely personalize it a bit on the first line. But it's still better than nothing. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just saying that it's better than not sending anything at all. Listen to the interview with Darko Markovic. That's basically the email he's sending. He's a bit more known, of course. But a good email, I will use the template I shared right there, that I showed, more as DM than email. Email will be a bit more expensive and a bit more personalized indeed. But for DMs, life is too short. So you can just send that and that's fine. Yeah, Seagull is going to take over the world. If you do a sci-fi design that you can explain, is it okay? Yes, but I'm always talking to everyone. Be very careful about sci-fi, especially when you are starting, because sci-fi is the hardest thing to do. Look at Feng Zhu's video. Look at this video from Feng called Targeting Your Portfolio. He's explaining why sci-fi is so hard for juniors. What's your opinion on chopping up scans to kit bash them into something new? First of all, it takes a lot of time. A lot of steps. So I see a bit of a liability in that because studios might not have the technology to do so. Second of all, you're bound by reality. Third of all, it's hard to edit for those kind of assets. And three, depends on what you are kit bashing, but if you are kit bashing a cathedral, well, it's going to be that specific cathedral. If you are kit bashing a tree, well, just use Quixel. So I don't really know. As I've already said several times, I'm not a fan of kit bash. I think that any primary or secondary element in your design should be made by you, regardless the medium, regardless if it's photo scan, drawn, sculpted, but it needs to be made by you and needs to be unique. Otherwise, what the hell are they paying you for? Is it not seen as intrusive to send a candidature through DMs? No, you are invading their professional space. You're not invading their personal space. But just do it in a way that is respectful of your time. If it feels copy-pasted, less chances. If it feels a bit personalized, yeah, okay, personalize the first line. Not hard to do. I will fear to sound pushy. That's just in your head. They receive hundreds of DMs like that. Like my LinkedIn. That's all the DMs I got since June 27. Okay? In a month. I got so many people who are like, hey, give me a job, bro. Give me a chance. Just because I had art director in my CV. I'm still receiving that. I don't remember about any of them. Worst case scenario, they ignore you, you know. Best case scenario, they click on your work and they see it's good. You have nothing to lose. You send them 17 messages per day or per week. Yeah, they're going to blacklist you. But other than that, no, that's fine. Don't worry. I know there's a lot of approach and anxiety. You need to completely remove the human equation. You throw a bottle at the ocean. There's nothing personal for them or against you, okay? Okay? Next question. I'll put the link to the preparatory module again in case some people want it. I still have 15 more minutes. In a portfolio, is it better to specialize in a specific area to show versatility or to show versatility? I'm afraid of getting stuck in one direction and not evolving in other fields. So it's going to depend on the studio. That's why you need to do your research. Check the artists working there. If they are all specialists, the studio probably wants you to be a specialist. If they are all generalists, the studio wants you to be generalist. If you find both, the studio is probably okay with both. Second thing, you are only as good as your worst portfolio piece, and we are rarely equally as good on environment and characters, unless you are a specific profile. If that's the case, that's a massive advantage. If it's not the case, focus on your specialty. That's the way I will do it. Most generally, production studio, they want you to have like 70% of one specialty and 30% of the other. Outsourcing studio, they want you to be extremely specialized to something. When I say, let's say you are specialized in character, do not do just characters. Do characters, all the props tied to character like equipment, gear, costume, etc., weapons, and do potentially a bit of creatures. Do environment, do inside, outside, props, furnitures, mechanisms. Things like this, you're good. Thought on latest political things, don't talk about it online. It's a strange game where to win, you have not to play. You have everything to lose about talking about the latest political, social, or whatever hot topic of the moment. I personally find people talking about that generally having an absolutely unbearable sense of self-righteousness that makes me want to give a counter argument regardless of wherever they stand just to piss them off. I don't like the self-righteous approach. I think it's bad. I think people are tired of that, and I think people are tired pretending they're not. So do not give bullets to your recruiter to shoot you with that. Remain neutral, and they don't want you to be a drama magnet. Big Bad Wall of Concept Art. It's on my list. I need to order it. I need to order it. But I don't have it. I know it's good. Recommended read. Next question. Anyone? See you, Nikita. Talk to you in September. Happy preparatory module, Nikita. Anyone else, folks? Don't be shy. Is it possible to apply for October? Yes, sure. Just apply with the regular link. That's fine. I need to edit the post that next class is in October. The last slot got taken this morning. I just need to update that. Next question. Yeah, DM me. Just DM me. If you got a preparatory module already, then you want to get into mentorship? Yeah, you have to go through the interview. Yep. A secret tool to work faster on Photoshop? Keyboard shortcut. How can I study better for product presentation? There's a live about that. There's a live about that. Which one is this? Oh my god. There's a lot of content now. Portfolio case studies. This one. This one, and check also the one we did for the rookies. You're going to have everything you need for presentation. Kitties appreciation comment. Yeah, we've been blessed with the kitties. Oh, they are adorable. We don't really know if Vega is licking Hades to clean it, or if he's choke holding right now. I think it's a bit of both. What do I listen to while walking? Nothing. I'm actually not listening to anything when I'm walking. When I was drawing, sure, I was putting some mood music that was matching the mood of the picture. But now that most of my work is business related, it's a bit intensive. So I'm listening to nothing, and actually I'm putting earplugs in my ears and also a drum headset. So I guess minus 50 dBs in my ears. It's way easier to think when you don't hear anything. I'm a bit sensitive to distraction. Other than that, when I'm doing some low intensity work, let's say writing LinkedIn posts, generally some chill music with no lyrics. And when I'm playing games or chilling, I'm listening to a lot of things. Mostly chill music, classical, lot of metal, lot of metal, soundtracks, and generally that's what I'm listening to. Is 3D model sculpting required for character concept artists? Not really, unless you are doing heavy sci-fi, which I do not advise at the beginning. Mentorship are closed right now? No, they are always open. They're always open. I'm going to reduce the slots off for calls because I'm in vacation right now. I'm going to book them just on 1 day per week, something like that. But it's still going to happen during the summer because I want to start booking October in advance. That's it. Applying process is constant, so it's not closed right now. So if you want to apply, that's it. I'm just going to edit the website just after the stream to explain. Next class is in October, but you can apply for it right now. Our station outboard links doesn't work for me. Might need to be updated. I'm going to have a look. That's it. Next. See, Romic. I mean, I'm still going to be there, but I'm just going to close my DMs for anything mentorship related. And I'm just going to chill. Is it better to create different websites for different skill, or present everything together and promote yourself as a studio? I mean, a one-person studio sounds a bit pretentious to me, unless you're exceptional at everything. But I don't think it's a good idea. You can present different portfolios, but yeah, different websites. That seems to be a bit much to me. Don't think it as a studio if you are one person. No, don't do that. You can say generalist, but careful about spreading yourself too thin. Again, you are only as good as your worst specialty or pieces. And I highly doubt everyone can be equally as good as concept design, storyboard, 3D sculpt, etc. So there will always be some stuff that will tank your portfolio, unfortunately, which you probably don't want to show. Next question. In the meantime, let's have bigger cats. I still have 4 minutes, folks. While people are writing some potential question, remember to do the YouTuber stuff. Drop a like down below, comment, share the stuff to people who might benefit from it. Join the Discord. To join the Discord, people are always asking, you need to get the free course. It's free. I'm not going to spam your emails. Is that a tent for the cats? Yes, it's a tent. There's another one. They have a teepee and they have an igloo. And they love to be inside it. Like the igloo, Vega is always in it. How many installments can you pay the mentorship? 3. We might expand it to 4 in the future when price goes up. But right now 3 is fair. Especially, let's say you secure a slot right now and next class is in October. It's spread from now till end of November. That's a lot of spreading already. Is there going to be chunky plushies for the Concept 101? Dude, I'm checking some options, but making plushies is so goddamn expensive. I want to make some eventually, but for Concept 101, there's no way. Like making a plushie takes at least 4 to 5 months with all the back and forth and the testing. But I want to make one for sure. By the way, speaking of plushies, we're going to have some nice illustration showed for the art nest. And I'm going to make the little goodies available if you want at some point. I'm just finishing testing the printing for some stuff. Like, for example, you see that mug, the text, it's blurry. You will have to trust me on that, but the text was not printed very well. So I'm still testing the printing of everything before making the store available. It's going to be put in non-profit, which means I make zero money on that, and I'm getting you the lowest price we can get on the spreadshirt, basically, in case you want some. But it's a bonus. But for example, I got the hoodie right there with the owl in the back. It's going to be nice. Sometimes I feel the obligation to render all my concept to save myself. Is it okay to prove I can do it 1 or 2 times in the entire portfolio? Yes. Like, look at the work of Axel, for example. He's only having like 2 fully rendered pictures, like this one and maybe a few more. This one is less rendered, you know. Like this is the only like full polish illustration right there. The rest is semi-rendered. That's more than enough. The rest is sketchy, 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 sketchy. The way I'm saying it to the mentees is have 1 polished picture per project, and that's enough. The rest can be semi-rendered or partially rendered. You look at Gael. This is like fully rendered right here. You have little quote-unquote keyframe right there. This is fully rendered. The rest is more or less rendered. That's enough. This one is fine also. This one is fine because we have a fully rendered set of stuff right there. Look at Jess. A lot of stuff is rendered right there. A lot of stuff is not also. So we have a bit of everything. You don't have to render everything. The hoodie, exactly. Thank you, Muhammad Ali. What application do you recommend sending the portfolio through the website as a spontaneous application or contacting the art director or HR? I said it before. I think you were not there. Contacting the art director or HR is probably the worst strategy because they receive like hundreds of DMs per day, especially recruiters. Recruiters, there's no way. Any HR right now receives probably 200 plus DMs a day. So no, through the website or through email. Ellen, the logo, yes, I'm going to give it to the mentees and only to the mentees because we are going to do the ArtStation drop before Concept 101 and we will need the logo. So I will drop it, Ellen, I promise. It's coming. I have it. Like the Art Nest logo. I have everything. Boom. We have everything. You have the in lines. See, we have it in lines, in pyramid, just the owl itself. We will have everything. And we have the wax seals. We have the stamps. It's going to be nice. Let me show you. Look at that. We have the stamps. We have the wax seals. So everyone in Concept 101 is going to stamp your hand or stamp your face, probably. It's going to be funny. We also got, oh my God, that's a little teaser. And people are going to say that we are a cult even more. I got that creepy mask. I got that super creepy owl mask. Just need the cloak. It's going to be fun. How often should I make turnaround for props? When they are big. When they are big. And complex with mechanisms. I see artists talking about working on things you are bad at, but you keep working on what you're good at for the portfolio. Those ones keep working on the weak point only in Sketchbook. I mean, I'm not saying that you should avoid things you are bad at, otherwise you're just going to remain bad at that. It's just for the portfolio, you need to play with your strength. Unless you have plenty of time in front of you, in that case, sure. But otherwise, most people watching those videos, they are trying to get hired as time efficiently as possible, which means that they cannot really afford to explore their artistic self for an eternity. Next question. And the cats are cuddling each other. It's so cute. It's adorable. Yeah, they look super comfy. Let me grab them in a high res and let's end the stream then. There'll be something like live portfolio feedback again. Yes, don't worry about that. Let me show you in a high res. He's purring so hard. I thought the camera is going to catch it. Yeah, he's ginger right there. Yeah. The big one. He's so big. He looks very happy. All right, folks. Gonna go. Hope the stream was useful. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.